So I just went on holiday and I stayed there and said I wasn't going back, and that's how I stayed back.
And you came to meet another set of persons
Oh, like I said, I
that
can be
were
the
in a
light of the
higher
party.
level than you were.
Oh yeah. The social was indirect pressure. They did not tell me you must do things. They were doing their thing. I felt left out, and I thought, okay, Lord, let's not. Why don't we try?
Am I the
Then,
odd person
yeah.
out? I have to belong. Okay, I want us to go back a little.
Okay.
At what point did you, what was the first introduction
To which one now? The cigarette,
the drugs,
alcohol?
the alcohol, the cigarettes, the alcohol, like you said, is a gateway to.
Yeah.
Was it you just were you environments of people who were doing it?
Yes, I was. I was with them. They were all there, and then they were doing it, and I think I was just fascinated by it.
So it was out of curiosity.
In the beginning, yes. Yes, it was out of curiosity, and also, something has happened. We now think that such things are the things that are the criteria for being cool. So at the time, it appeared like if you did this, that means you're cool. You appeared cool. They will make it look like there's a way you hold the cigarette, so you look cool. Unfortunately, who puts the barrier that when you start this, you don't know how to stop? You will go down a slippery slope. There is no barrier, really. Some people are able to. Some people don't know how to.
So after your secondary school, you got your papers.
Yes, I did.
So you were able to obtain your goals?
Yes, I got back into school. Or by the time I got back into school, you meet a new set of people. And I keep saying this thing, when I'm working with people now and they will tell me, oh, we moved, we just want to take her from here and take her to another city without treatment, without, renewing their mind, helping them reinvent themselves. If you go to a new city and you are not sorted out with your drug use, your substance use, and all of those things, somehow the people, you will find yourself among people.
Did your auntie know you were into?
Nobody knew.
So even when you went on holiday to Kano, nobody knew?
I think I stopped for a bit because it was environmental.
So people could not actually say this is why you failed?
No, they didn't understand. Nobody knew, and nobody knew anything about this until, let me say, 2014, 2015.
And you started?
15.
And you could keep it?
Oh yes, there are a lot of children keeping that. A lot of children.
Okay, so when you got into the university, that was another environment for pressure.
That was another environment. You just continue. You just continue the thing. That's why I say if you don't deal with it before, when you get into another environment, you are most likely to be drawn to those same kind of people. Spiritually, some people will tell you it's like a hook. There's something like a mark on you that those same drug users find you.
Like they say, birds of same feather flock together.
So
you just get attracted.
Yes, you gravitate towards them, and then somehow all of you just continue your lives like that. Yes.
When I heard you said you wanted to be a lawyer.
Oh, absolutely.
What happened?
I think that's why I still like to dress in black a lot. I wanted to be a lawyer so very badly. I can't remember. I think I had this uncle. I went to his house once, and we got into his house. I saw his wig, his gown, and the books in his study, in his library, and I was blown away. I told myself, I said, this, as young as I was, I said, this is a life that I want to live. I want to be a lawyer. I think maybe it was, I want to be it wasn't maybe just being a lawyer, because it's sort of what I'm doing now. It's being the voice of people that are, can't express themselves and are looking for help. Now I can convert it to that, or relate it to that, not convert, relate it to that. But I want to be a lawyer so badly. But I mean, with law, you have to read. And at that time, I could do well. I was an auditory child. One of those that I would just have to be in class, I would hear everything and I would repeat verbatim. I had one of those kind of brains.
So you got into the university actually to read law?
No, I didn't. I couldn't even do law anymore because, I mean, there were too many distractions. I couldn't even do law anymore. There was no point. They didn't take me for law in the first place. And then after that, I couldn't even pass JAM to get the grades for law. and all of those things. So I just told myself, look, respect yourself and leave this thing alone. And that's how I left it. I couldn't concentrate anymore. The partying had become almost my life. When every day you're in a party, every day you're clubbing, every day there is drinking, smoking, hanging around. I couldn't
And all
do
this
that
while you
anymore.
were still living with your auntie?
But at this time, I mean, I was in school. I was living in school,
Okay.
so I would come home on holiday and go back. But I was mostly in school. Like it is most times everybody's in school. You just go home for holiday. When you're on holiday, you still find time and ways to be out
You
of
were
the
in
house.
school but not in school?
Yes, because I was collecting money every month. You know,
And still nobody knew. That's a scary thing. That's a scary thing. Because I've had parents, I've been in the midst of parents, and when you talk about drugs, so God forbid, my child can never do this, my child can never do that. How much of your child do you know?
Mm.
From my guest story, from one city to the other, nobody knew anything. Does that mean you have to start looking all over again? Hmm. Let's, let's talk about parents.
Okay.
Why is it that we find it difficult to accept some of these things?
I think parents just want to live in denial because if you look closely, you will know. Yeah, I think that many parents just don't want to look closely. They're afraid, and this competition thing that every parent is getting into, you're competing with the next family, and so you're trying to hide, issues. We're not in those times. I remember when I was much younger, the parents community, the whole community could bring up a child. If you saw your child doing something wrong, your neighbor will beat you before your parent even comes into, finds out what it is you've done. But in recent times, I think that parents are already quite a lot of them are too busy, and yes, we know that we're in new times. A lot of parents don't. You can't bring up your children the way we were brought up. I mean, I won't bring up my child the way I was brought up. There's some things I know that my parents probably did wrongly that I would not want to repeat with them. But somehow we always find ourselves repeating those same mistakes, and we are still now, we're doing. Some
Can you
parents will tell you.
identify some of those mistakes that we are doing?
Someone will tell you that I want to be friends with my child. I want to be friends with my child because my parent beats me too much. So I don't want to beat my child. I'm not saying you should beat your child. Don't hit your child. I understand that because, I mean, these are different times. But you can't say you are your child's friend. You must parent them first. You must parent your child. You must coach your children. Parenting is like coaching. You must nurture them, be their cheerleader, help them navigate through life. Also, even if you have the answers to their problems, help them think independently. These days, we're all trying to overprotect our children. We're trying to, okay, don't go through this thing alone. Whatever it is I can do, I'll cover. No. Let them think, because when they go out on their own, they will have to make decisions by themselves. If you've not put enough in a child, when the child is at home, before the child leaves the house, the child will not be able to say no when someone forces them to do drugs.
So they can't stand on their own because they'll just be looking at the back, where is my mom or my dad
Constantly
to help
looking
me
for them
out.
to make the decisions for them.
How do I know if my kid is involved in drugs?
There are quite a number of things to look out for. First of all, you have to even know who your child is before you can know that your child has changed. If you don't know who your child is, you won't even know that your child has changed. And I think that's one of the things that happened with me. Because, first of all, I'm the youngest of 8, and my mom wasn't around. She was in the UK. I started, living with my sister. And from after I lived with my parents, then lived with my sister, then lived with another sister, there was no continuous pattern of this is how we knew that Tega was. Because if maybe I started living with my sister from birth, she would have known that there is something off with this girl. There was no continuation. I went from house to house to house. So it was easy for me to be 3 different people in the 3 different houses. So I think that you first of all need to know the child before you can know that something is off. if you don't know, like I like to use this example about Solomon in the Bible that had the two prostitutes one of them slept on her child, and then the other one, they must have looked alike for that one to be able to swap them and say, okay, I can try to swap. But when that one opened her eyes and saw the child, she said, this is not my child. But she had to have known that this is...
It's beyond the physique. It's more like emotional,
something.
psychological,
Yes.
how my child behaves.
Yes, you must know. Because if your child is withdrawn, if your child is quiet normally and the child just becomes unnecessarily boisterous, you would know that, okay, why are you so, what's going on with you?
Some people say it's growing up.
No, I don't think so.
Why some, when the child becomes quiet, they say, oh, my child is now behaving mature.
At those times, those are the times that you look closer. When you begin to see stuff, you just change friends all of a sudden. I don't understand this new set of friends that you have. Where are your old friends? You can't even explain where your old friends are. And then things are getting lost in the house. Gadgets are just getting missing. Every day you are changing your phone. One moment, oh, I had this phone. The next moment, they've stolen it. You're always changing things. Then when they're always hiding stuff, then unnecessary use of perfume. I keep talking about this bottle of Coke that doesn't ever finish. When a child just holds Coke, the Coke does not finish. What is the problem? Since morning you have been drinking this Coke. You will know that they've poured substance in it and then just sipping it and just topping up their high. When you see them hiding stuff unnecessarily, all of a sudden they want to lock their doors. Not just because they are growing old and they don't want you to come into their room because of, their biological changes.
Yeah, but they want to say they want some privacy because they're now teenagers. We should look closer.
Yes, please. Especially if the child, I'm not saying that you should, because that happens generally with children. They just decide, I want more privacy now. I don't want anybody coming to the bathroom when I'm taking a bath. But once in a while, just go in. Just go into the room, search, check under the bed, check their favorite places. Because these days, children have favorite places that anywhere you know that a child likes to hang, always hanging out there, go and check that place. Check for paraphernalia, drop paraphernalia. You'll probably find something. If you don't find anything, it's fine. Check their shoelaces, their shoes. Maybe they've tucked it in their shoes, that drawer. Check their pockets, all sorts of things. They hide all sorts. Or you go under. I was talking to one boy recently, and his mom was saying she doesn't understand what's going on. She doesn't understand what's going on. I said, okay, would you check his room? She says he's always locking his room, so I can't get in. I said, you're going to have to either change the lock before he comes back one day and get into that room. Let's be sure. And then she changed the lock. So when they came to change the locks, we now had access into the room. By the time they went under his bed, plastic bottles everywhere, bottles of empty, we know the drugs that they use now, all under the bed, tourniquets, all sorts of stuff.
What are the drugs they use now? Because the ones we knew were just like, I never knew about the codeine thing.
Codeine?
I thought it was probably for cough.
Yes.
But suddenly there's so much attention on it. There's other substances.
That's one of the things that I think that parents should look closely at. Because the codeine, it starts like a joke. 1 teaspoon, 2. Before you know it, you're guzzling bottles. All sorts. And most of them are actually not illicit drugs. They are actually drugs, legal drugs that are meant for ailments that they're now abusing. Because have you heard that they even use blood tonic now? They drink a full bottle of blood tonic because they want to get high too.
Not because they want blood.
No, it's not the blood. They are just looking for high.
I hear about grass. I hear about gutter. I hear about sand. I hear about all sorts of things. And now you're talking about urine.
Then normal wood, they would, use a sharp object to scrap it. And then after a while, they'll burn it and then smoke it and get high.
We'll take a break. We have another video we'd like to play on the show. So we'll take a break. We're going to be playing that video. And when we come back, we will be, I don't even know what. And when we come back, we'll tell you your role as a parent, what you should do. Don't go away.
asking a lot of a child to go to a party. I mean, kids, what do kids want to do when they're 15 years old? They want to be accepted. They want to be perceived as being cool. I mean, so if a kid goes to a party on a Friday night and they're with a bunch of their friends, if it's a party where a lot of kids are getting high, it's kind of asking a lot of the kid to say, no thank you, I don't use drugs. First of all, we talk about it. Second of all, we rehearse with them. Really literally rehearse. We take roles and practice. How are you going to deal with this if someone hands you a joint? And we want to prepare them with responses to that. And their responses can be anything from, listen, my parents drug test me, even if we don't. So if I get high, they're going to know, so I can't use. That works. And another thing parents can do is work with their kids so that they can always have a way to reach them if they're feeling unsafe. There's a lot of experiments that show that these kids are armed, if they're kind of forewarned is forearmed, and it really helps kids in some situations. When your kids are just starting to use drugs, it's more subtle. It's harder to know, and there are things to look out for. Kids whose moods change, who somehow their personality changes. They went from being, you can just tell there's sort of a lightness and it's no longer there. And then there are sort of external, sort of things to look for. Kids who aren't eating, kids who are sleeping a lot or not sleeping at all, kids who are super, super anxious and sort of vibrating, and those are signs of drug use. Kids who've changed their friends, things like that. But if a child has gone on and having serious problems with hard drugs, the signs still can be hard for us to see, but they're much more dramatic. Kids who are using opiates, who are taking pills, are likely to be much more isolated, to spend a lot more time in their room. They're a lot sleepier. They're less aware, even when you're sort of hanging out with them. They're just less responsive. On the other hand, kids who are using stimulants, crystal meth, cocaine, there's a jitteriness to them, grinding of their jaw, a physical anxiety, it's a feeling. I look back and realize that when Nick was using crystal meth, it was like this engine humming around the house. And I didn't understand it at the time because I didn't know what to look for. But looking back, I realized that that's what a kid looks like who's using methamphetamine. There are a lot of things we can do to prevent our kids from using. The most important thing that I've determined that will help our kids grow up healthily so they don't have drug problems is to recognize the fact, to pay attention to the stresses in their lives, to recognize the fact that they may have risk factors, that there may be addiction in their family, they may be suffering psychological disorders, have learning disabilities, have suffered loss in their family, the kinds of things that set kids up to be more likely to become addicted. But there are also really sort of practical things that we can do to help our kids. It's really asking a lot of a child to go to a party. Kids, what do kids want to do when they're 15 years old? They want to be accepted. They want to be perceived as being cool. So if a kid goes to a party on a Friday night and they're with a bunch of their friends, if it's a party where a lot of kids are getting high, it's kind of asking a lot of the kid to say, no thank you, I don't use drugs. So we want to prepare them for situations like that because there's a good chance they're going to have to be making some decisions. And the way that we do that is first of all, we talk about it. Second of all, we rehearse with them. Really literally rehearse. We take roles and practice. How are you going to deal with this if someone hands you a joint or gives you a glass of beer? And we want to prepare them with responses to that. And their responses can be anything from, listen, my parents drug test me, even if we don't. So if I get high, they're going to know, so I can't use. That works. I've heard it work for parents. One thing that kids have used, you talk to your kids about, take a beer, go to the bathroom, empty the beer, fill it up with water, and you can nurse it, and nobody knows you're not drinking. And maybe it sounds stupid, but it works. I've heard from kids who say that they get through their whole high school years and go to parties. They don't have to stay home and, be bored or feel like they're really out of it. And another thing parents can do is work with their kids so that they can always have a way to reach them if they're feeling unsafe. So if your kid is at a party and everything's fine, then great. But if your kid is at a party and they're starting to get nervous, if they're feeling that they're in a situation that may be unsafe, and it could be unsafe because of drugs, but it could be unsafe for many other reasons, have a code word that they either text to you or they say on the phone, whatever the word is. And suddenly you'll know that it's time for you to be the bad guy and for you to say to them, I'm coming to get you, and for them to be able to hang up their phone and say, oh my God, my parents are such assholes or whatever. They want to come get me and make me go because I have to go see my grandmother in the morning. All these things sound kind of, maybe at face value, it sounds kind of stupid, that they wouldn't really help. But there's a lot of experiments that show that these kids are armed. If they're kind of forewarned, is forearmed. And it really helps kids in some situations.
You're welcome back. It's still the Transformational Parenting Show. My guest is still in the house. And it's a lot of revelation talking about this issue about drugs. And I still can't wrap my head around a lot of things. Okay? And the truth is that the way we are wired is definitely different from the way our children are wired. So I want to understand from my guest, who is sharing her own experience, because she came out from being a drug addict. And today, she's running the Back to Light Foundation, bringing people to the awareness that this is real. While we were on the break, we spoke, and she said, out of 4 children, 3 right now, according to vague statistics, 3 out of 4 are into drugs because of the accessibility. I mean, when you talk about things like codeine, or you talk about coke, or you talk about, what's the other one, blood tonic, these are things that are on the shelf. My question now is, what will lead a child? Because now it's not about age, it's not about status, it's not about whether I come from a poor home or something. What will lead a child to get so involved in drugs as a lifestyle?
Okay, there are different things that can lead people into drug use. There's personal trauma. If there's personal trauma, if you're dealing with maybe you have pain, physical ailment, and then you are a particular med is prescribed, and then after a while you become addicted to, like pentazocine, for instance, and then tramadol. Those are painkillers that actually supposed to help you kill pain, but after a while people are popping them like sweets. And then that's personal trauma, health challenges. Then there's peer pressure, of course. There's family dysfunction. Those are one of the few things that I know that leads people into it. I'm talking to this girl presently, and someone told her that one of these drugs would help her lose weight. And she decided to take it. She said truly it was helping her suppress her appetite. Unfortunately, she can't get off it anymore. She is so addicted to it, and if she doesn't take it, she can't function. She's shaking and all of that. So what would we call that one? Influence. Sometimes it's just social use. They just decide, okay, let's just use for the sake of, stimulation. When I take it, I
get high. I like the feel.
I like the feel. I can party. I can enjoy myself.
I can
enjoy
talk
my
to
party.
anybody anyhow.
That's one thing. And I wrote about this thing in my book, and I was telling them about a boy that he used to take drugs to stand up for his mother against his father. His father used to beat the mother blue black, and then he didn't know how to stand up to his dad. And so his friends told him, take this thing. Your eye go dirty. Stand. Face your papa. And that's one of the things that made him start using drugs. After a while, it started affecting him badly, and then they had to run for help. So there are different things that's family dysfunction. I know. So it's all sorts. Different things. Like I said, family dysfunction, personal trauma, ill health, peer pressure, social use, party sex, stimulation, depressant. As in, you just want to, suppress the way you're feeling about a particular time. Maybe some people, because they're having anxiety issues, they decide, okay, let me just take it to help me just calm down. That's why I have this friend also that will tell you that when I take it, I like the way I just be going on reverse. I say, you are moving forward. say yes, but when he's working forward, he feels like he's actually reversing. He likes the way the thing makes him feel,
Being in the cloud.
being in the cloud. And then after a while now, I think that boy's brain dead right now, actually.
What do you mean brain dead?
He really slot speeches. He can't coordinate. He can't. He's almost brain dead. He can't function. He can't coordinate.
Drug abuse has its own effect.
Yes, yes.
What are the
absolutely.
major ones among young people?
You know, I ask them a lot now these days. Do you forget stuff? They'll tell you yes. They have parts of their memory that they can't even remember. They can't remember some things. And then when I tell them that when people want to argue that weed is okay, what are you talking about is medicinal, and let you know that drug use corrodes your brain like acid corrodes. So it actually damages your brain and it affects the part of your brain that makes you make rational decisions. That's why you can see someone that will be a functional addict. The part that makes you functional, it doesn't go anywhere near there. But the part that makes you make rational decision, I think that's the prefrontal cortex. Yes, you can't. That's where it damages. And here it takes about 5 years of lack of use for your brain matter to start to reverse in building up again.
What can we do as parents to help? Maybe we notice our children have started getting into alcohol and cigarette, like you said, is the gateway. Or sometimes it just can a child just fall sick because he wants to get access to those drugs?
If you're talking withdrawal symptoms,
I just can't hold something. But is it possible that a child will just say, I'm not feeling well, so that I can have access to that particular drug?
Oh, yes, absolutely. There was one girl we saw one day in front of a pharmacy, and she came there. I think she didn't have money, so she was begging one man that she's very sick. He should please give her money. She needs to buy drugs. She's not well. The man gave her money. When you see a girl as in shaking and telling you she's ill, the man gave her money. She got into the pharmacy, bought 2 bottles of codeine, and downed it in everybody's presence.
I have a classmate of mine, and this girl is intelligent. When she's saying, she talks rationally. She knows everything that's happening in our environment. You understand? But this drug has so damaged her that she has a flat to live, but she would prefer to live in a store, a dirty place, an environment that is unhealthy. That's what she wants to. So we try to contact her family members, and most of them said they are tired. They have given up. Well, I don't think as parents we should give up.
You can't give up.
What can we do?
Because first of all, you need to reassess a lot of things. Many parents
are suffering now.
Parents are suffering, but parents also need to realize that you go back to the person that gave you the child. Many parents have missed it. We know that, okay, yes, children will be children. They will experiment with stuff and everything, curiosity and all of that. But there is the time when we know that this thing is prevalent, why don't you try and put coping skills in your child before your child leaves the house?
What are the coping skills?
You can teach your child to be independent in their thinking. Let them know that you don't have to follow the crowd.
Okay.
Help them be able to make proper decisions. Help them, you teach them, speak their language.
Okay.
Don't start trying to make them understand like an adult. You're going to confuse them. At that time, let them know, if your child, build an environment of trust. Let your child know that you can come to me with anything. And I will not overreact. I'm not going to start crying. I'm going to, get this thing, sorted with you. Allow them tell you their problems. Their problems are valid for their age.
Okay.
Don't start telling them, is that your problem? Don't dismiss them like that. Listen to them. They will tell you stuff and help them know that they have the right to say no. Nobody has to be the one that will be pushing you around. Don't let anybody push you around. I tell people now, I say, if someone tells you, I ask them, what do you want to be? I said, I wanted to be a lawyer, but I never made it to law school. I never became a lawyer. Drug use, substance use was what made me not, get there. If someone tells you to take any substance, that's the person telling you not to achieve your dream in life. There's some things you have to just put your child through. Tell them, ask them what they want to be. Help them understand their purpose. Then when you know what their purpose is, guide them, navigate them through these things, because they will meet people. Do you know the voices that they will hear when they get out of the house? Let your voice be the loudest that this child will hear forever. If there is no voice from the home front, when they go out there, any voice that comes in is what they will take.
We're rounding up now. A parent whose child is in this already, what position should they take? I mean, how can they help to turn things around for the children?
They should first of all get professional help, get medical help, get professional help. And please don't, when the child is getting help, you know, parents try to guilt the child that has gone through the drugs. You now start making them, you have put me through so much. Don't leave all those things aside, because the family, the parents make or mar the recovery of that child. So you're going to have to hold this child's hand and let the child get through treatment. Don't even start hiding it. I don't know why people like to hide. Some people will tell you, one man told me, let me just pay you the money, take this boy off my hands. When he did his will, bring him back. What does
you
that
have to
even
be
mean?
involved in their lives.
You must be involved in their lives, because it might even be that it stemmed out of something that happened in the family environment that made them even delve into drug use in the first place. Let's find out what it is that is going on. Let's excavate and know exactly why this child went into drug use, because it's an emptiness you were trying to fill. Let's say it was social use. Social use will pass. Let's say, but after the social use and, you know, experimenting and all of that, it has become a brain disease. You don't treat it with kids' gloves. We must find out what is wrong, get professional and medical help, and help your child go through it without guilting your child through all of this.
Anyway, you've heard it. It's not an issue that would go once. There's so many things to talk about. We have the neurotic area to look at. We'll talk about recovery and so many things. Tega, I want to thank you for coming on the show to share your experience and to tell us what as parents we should begin to look out for and to do. Anyway,